Well, welcome to the Morgan City RDA meeting. Redevelopment Agency. I would like to see if we have an approval of the meeting's agenda. Okay. Eric approved the meeting and I think it was Jeffrey. Okay.
Hit your green button.
Second.
I just did yours.
Thank you. Forgot how to do this.
And then an approval on item 2, the redevelopment agency meeting minutes of September 10th, 2024. Anybody had a chance to look over that?
I looked at them and I'd move to approve them.
Great. Second. Okay, Denise, did you get that? Okay. All right, well, let's move into item 3. And what I'll be doing is just your best work, Ty, so I'm gonna turn it all over to you.
Sounds good. Just, so this first one is, just a land purchase agreement. So you know that we've been negotiating property in order to get the alleyway done, but between the two. And so we had an opportunity with the, this new owner of the hotel buying the hotel, then we included a land purchase agreement for the property that we needed. On that bend. So we're doing that in conjunction with their purchase of the hotel from the bank. So it's pretty basic. It's just agreement to purchase land, and the purchase price is $10. So for the land, the real.
Okay, so there wasn't any other consideration, just $10 period.
So it's part of the incentive agreement.
Okay,
They agreed during the incentive agreement to provide the land at $10. So that's kind of the next item up. I guess I could just talk about them both at the same time. So
I've got a couple of questions on
the land purchase.
Yeah, on the land purchase. It says the properties, that they own the property, is that been purchased? Is the deed transferred?
So it will at the close of the,
I mean, if they bought it from the bank or whoever?
they're in process.
Okay, so
So we'll close.
it'll be closed. They'll own it so that they, at that point, can transfer it.
Yeah, so we're using the same title company.
Okay. Oh, I see. So that'll happen simultaneous.
Yeah.
Then over on page 2, just item number 10. If we buy the land, it says the city agrees to improve the property with public uses, including public parking. If we buy the land and it's ours, why can't we do with it what we want?
So that was kind of the trade-off, is we're getting the land in exchange for improvements. So similar to what we did with Doug, we bought certain properties from Doug, but the rest of it, he sold us for $10 because in exchange for the improvements that we're making.
Okay,
They
so the
didn't.
improvements benefit him.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some consideration.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's, so the value of the improvement makes the property worth more, gives better access.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of the idea there.
Okay, let's fast forward then and suppose that there's some moving parts to the alleyway and all of that to come together. Suppose that didn't happen. Yet we've said we would improve that. Would we make those improvements anyway, even though we didn't go ahead with the other project?
Yeah, so with this property, and just like the last property, at the minimum, we could just do a cul-de-sac, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, sure.
where we didn't connect all the way through to Commercial Street, but
Then he gets his improvements that we said we would
Yep.
agree to.
yeah, so each property then, they're in sequential order. And so the last 2 properties after this one, we have verbal confirmations, but I'm kind of doing one property at a time so we don't leave a gap. You know, if we would have acquired the other 2 properties and missed the hotel, then we wouldn't have made connection. And so that's
All right.
the idea. And then,
That's all I had on that part.
Okay.
Good answers.
Well, I think it's gonna be a real positive thing.
uh,
Make the whole thing better.
All commercial street, law and roof better.
yeah, and the
Parking.
I've got other questions on the economic incentive agreement, if you want to talk about or introduce that.
Okay, yeah, so the economic incentive agreement is basically everything that we had in the original agreement. We're just awarding to the new hotel. So we had already committed to the remaining $775,000. That's what was left of our original agreement. But we're redoing the time frame. So we had an agreement last time to do a 10-year, but we didn't get, the hotel didn't get built. It was at least a year. It might have been 2 years behind before they got their first payment. And so we would have had to either renew the RDA or close the RDA and make us up, 2 more payments. We would have had to do that through the city or something. And so this cleans it up, gives them the remaining amount, but gets the timeline back on track. And so you can see it's kind of front loaded where the first couple of years they get more, and then it kind of scales back after that.
So that was a question. I mean, we agree to, well, let me back up. So the initial commitment from the RDA was for how much? The 775 is remaining. What was just roughly, what was the original amount?
Of the first one,
Yes.
the entire package was 1.2. That included some hookup fees, about 200 in hookup fees that we didn't have to actually pay out of pocket. It included an enterprise fund of 75,000. And I think the remaining that we actually paid out of pocket was like 990,000.
Okay.
And then we were paying 128,700 each year up till now,
So why would we bump that to 175?
in order to compress the time frame, because the first one overextended, our commitment overextended the life of the RDA. So we can't decide now if we're actually going to renew the RDA. And so instead of having money out there,
So
This-
compressing it will put it within the time frame.
within the time frame of the RDA.
Where we're at, right, for the moment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so if the RDA doesn't get renewed, then we've met our commitment without
Okay.
trying to,
So then back to just the dollars.
Sure.
We agree to $175,000 each year, but upon signing of this agreement, as soon as we sign the agreement, we hand them 175?
yeah, when we
Is that-
close on the property, when they've transferred the land.
I guess I struggle with that a little bit unless it's something that was maybe had accrued to the prior owners. Why would we hand them money up front without some performance on their part?
So part of it is the land. So they're giving us the land for $10, but in the incentive, they're getting. So I'm trying to,
I can tell.
yeah, so the entire incentive included the land, even though the entire incentive was the total value that was remaining.
So could that answer this part two of the question then? And that is, come February, we hand them another 175.
Yep.
In other words, we've given them 45% of the incentive within 60 days. And part of the reason we're giving them the incentive is because they bring in these improvements, they bring in the hotel. 60 days into it, we've given them almost half of the incentive. That seemed a little bit
And
too heavy on the front end.
well, and part of that was their decision to actually purchase the hotel was contingent on the grant dollars. So when in the negotiations, we were negotiating with the bank, and if we, part of the terms is we front loaded it instead of giving them extra total dollars. If that makes sense. In the negotiation, we included the land, and we also included front loading it to make it more attractive to them. Because they're gonna have to put in order to make it a Comfort Inn, they're gonna have to put in improvements for every door. In order to convert the cobblestone into a Comfort Inn. So in the negotiations, if we hadn't come through with the incentive, the real likelihood that they wouldn't have purchased the hotel.
So are we interfering with the market then? Yeah,
I think we're giving an incentive is what
we're
we're doing. I
participating,
mean,
yeah.
we're keep the doors open.
Keeping the doors open, giving an incentive. I mean, the last thing when this whole thing came about, we didn't want the hotel to be here open for 2 years and then dead.
But
A weed
nonetheless,
patch, and we didn't want it to just sit here, and that's why we gave the whole RDA thing.
it doesn't fall to us to remedy market and or
Well,
investment.
I agree with you, but I mean, look at every other town in this.
No, but that's also why we didn't offer more than what we already had committed to the
Yeah,
original hotel.
I mean, we
That's a
haven't.
good point.
Yeah, so it's not like, so that was on, that, when they purchased the hotel, that was already on the books. Like, one of the very first questions is, do we get the remaining
Yeah.
incentive that's on there?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that maybe not in a complete numerical sense had accrued, just in a, in a concept sense that, yeah, that's part of what that development was for. And I guess if we're not out any more money than we otherwise would be, I mean,
Yeah, but it helps with the conversion to a brand hotel, and the mayor and I, the mayor was really helpful too in the negotiations with the bank, but they looked at other franchises too. But with the Comfort Inn, the Comfort Inn gives them 5 years to make all of the improvements in order to hit the flagship, so some of the other ones that they would have had to do like
I guess we're
all the
being-
improvements right up
The fact
front.
that they'll make those improvements though, I mean, again, we hand them this $750,000 and the I won't say potential, that's not a fair word, but the possibilities there that they don't put any money into it, that they take it and put it someplace else.
Well, they've agreed to a Comfort Inn. And in order to be a Comfort Inn, they have to hit the franchise requirements. You can't just call yourself a Comfort Inn and pay for the franchise without hitting the franchise requirements.
Nonetheless, if Comfort Inn is giving them 5 years, that's all of a sudden our money's gone by the time Comfort Inn says, oh, you need to be done.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then, I
So-
mean, they could say, oh, well, I guess it didn't work. 5 years later, and we've handed them all.
Yeah, and that's kind of the risk that we took with the original hotel
Until we knew.
too.
really
I mean, but
We were all trying to figure
So
out
it's
where
a-
people were gonna come from.
I get where you're at, but it's a tricky balance because we're participating, but we're not owning the hotel.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah,
it's,
fair enough. Again, it's not our job to be investors in the hotel.
and yeah, it's not without risk. It's just, I just felt good about the commitment level and acquiring the property with this
Okay.
and having new ownership. So it's not bank owned, and they're hoteliers, so they own multiple hotels, and
Right.
it'll
I mean, it's
be an improvement for sure.
be our chance to keep it going and viable.
Yeah.
A couple other questions. On page 1, it says, so the incentive, let me see here. Now let's drop down to the bottom of the page, Article 1, Paragraph 4. Project means a transition of the site into a Comfort Inn and Suites branded lodging facility. later on in the document, it allows a Comfort Inn or Suites or similar national mid-grade brand. Would we want something similar in this part here in case it changes from a Comfort Inn to something else? In other words, I mean, it seems it seems to me that if it isn't a Comfort Inn, that's a violation of the agreement. I guess maybe that's a Gary question.
Which section are you looking at?
So basically, do they have the latitude after a certain period to go
Right,
from
down at-
comfort inn to
on page
quality
one.
inn or something?
Western.
Article
I
1,
see that one
paragraph 4.
right down here.
Yeah, down at the bottom there. Says project means the transition of the site into a Comfort Inn and Suites lodging facility. Suppose it ends up being Best Western, when the day's done. Do we still offer an incentive to Best Western? Or, I mean, what it's saying is we expect a Comfort Inn, but you had some wording later on in the agreement that talked about a similar national mid-grade brand. I wonder-
Yeah, so it's that balance, in my mind, it's that balance of locking them in and then depending on what's viable, if a different brand seems more viable for whatever franchise reasons, just leaving it open. Same thing, we're not owning the hotel, but if Comfort Inn's not performing or Comfort Inn,
Sure,
um,
yeah.
doesn't
But I
make a
think
draw.
we're-
Cause we did look at some other, or they considered other brands, and in my mind, it would have been even better than
Sure,
Comfort Inn, but
okay, yeah, so,
but the requirements were just too steep, so.
yeah, but back to then what we're saying right here, in my mind, in the agreement is that we're expecting a Comfort Inn and our incentive is available to a Comfort Inn. But I think what you're saying is, no, it could be available to others, which we would probably all agree, but I'm not sure that wording tells me that.
So 1B, which is what I think you're referring to.
Yes, 1B,
It says
correct.
the RDA has no obligation to remit to a hotel the tax increment agreement unless and until the following conditions precedents are satisfied. And it says the hotel is operated as a national mid-grade brand, i.e. Comfort Inn or similar. If they were to change, because this agreement is predicated on them being a Comfort Inn,
Mhm.
the city would have to, the RDA would have to approve that. And then these other conditions would have to also exist, and that is the hotel has conveyed the 12,000 feet to us.
Mhm.
And then the hotel is convinced and continues to commence operation for each year in which the tax increment is received. The RDA has complete control over whether or not that tax increment is paid or received. And then it says the RDA has received actual payment of the tax increment intended for the hotel for that year in the approved budget. The RDA is not obligated to pay the hotel in any 1 year.
Right,
The bill's increment. That's really what that is saying. You still have, the RDA still has total control. If they change from this hotel
from Comfort
to
Inn.
another, you would have to amend this agreement.
Okay, so they would just come back to
They
us.
come back to
Yeah.
you. and
If they
say,
want the
"Okay,
money."
now we've got a Holiday Inn.
Yeah,
Would you?
okay, that's,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
yeah, that's fair enough. I just wanted to make sure we were
Yeah, that-
firm on saying that we wanted to come, our tax dollars went right now to a Comfort Inn only, or our incentive. On that same line though, on that same paragraph, it's got for a total purchase and improvement cost of approximately, do they really want to disclose on their part what that is, what the cost and
So-
improvements are?
We have a new sheet that, new top sheet to replace that.
My question.
5
is, the
minutes
other-
ago.
The other company didn't mind it, but
Yeah, so we have a new copy with that removed.
Oh, okay.
And this paper.
Oh,
And-
okay.
It's not that.
Well, good.
Yeah,
That-
it was left, that was left over from the original agreement
Okay.
that we didn't edit out,
I mean, I was kind of watching out for them. They may not want to.
Yeah.
Usually we have the
especially under
Other-
foreclosure situation.
valuable consideration.
Yeah, no,
Let's see. Acquisition date means the date project's completed, which shall not be later than October 31st.
we can,
That's
yeah,
what
we
we-
can change.
So has it been acquired?
No,
You're saying it won't be acquired until we,
we can push that out till,
Okay.
it doesn't really matter what date, but we could put December 31st.
yeah, so we may want to change that.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to, originally it was supposed to close.
Another date issue is back on paragraph 11, termination date means February 15th, 2024. That's already passed.
Yeah, 25.
Okay, so that'd be a change. Drop down to Article 3 on incentives. The number 1A, the city hereby pledges and agrees to pay hotel on the purchase, the $775,000. In that same incentive category, go over to, from 1A, go to the next paragraph, 1B. It says the RDA has no obligation to remit to the hotel tax increments, grants, da, da, da. Is it the city or the RDA that's making this commitment?
It's RDA funds.
Okay, then why would the city pledge to pay to the hotel?
That'd be RDA.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
you
it be
can
the
change that to
RDA?
Yeah,
So that would need to be changed.
Yeah. City RDA, yeah.
We okay with that, Gary, on 1A, Article 3,
It's
1A?
interesting because original, both the RDA and the city in the original agreement. But the RDA incentives are controlled by the RDA, so that would be correct.
Yeah.
So we would change that to RDA.
Yeah, so the city isn't, because right here we're saying the city's making that commitment to pay $750,000, the city is not.
Exactly.
What paragraph are you?
It's,
Article 3, 1A,
so in the first paragraph too, Denise, we take out and city, free to pay.
We use it interchangeably. It's a city RDA, so we miss stuff like.
yeah, just
Same.
so we're not
No,
committing the
RDA
city to
20.
something that
Yeah, exactly.
they didn't know they were committed to.
So, yeah, the city has no RDA voters, so.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Let's strike first line in the city, and then in paragraph A, we say the city,
They put in RDA.
yeah, RDA, yeah.
Yeah, the first line's got the word and city, doesn't it? We want to take that out. So then, Ty, just for understanding on how on how the program works, the hotel is assessed their property tax by the county. They paid that to the county. That's the taxing entity is the county, is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, then and they'll pay the full amount of the property tax,
Right.
which is 175, is that what we
I don't know
figured?
what their tax bill is, yeah.
Okay.
Depending on assessment and tax rates.
Would their tax be less than the RDA benefit?
It could be, yeah.
So we could be handing them some cash, but
Yeah, well, so we're taking, the RDA revenue is the entire RDA boundary. So there's a lot of properties paying into the RDA that
I
have
see,
no,
okay.
there's no payback to them.
So,
It's a,
well, yeah, but we said the county was the taxing entity. But now you're saying that other entities pay into the RDA.
Yep.
How does that money get in there? Who?
so it's
Is
a
the
property
RDA
tax. So every address within the RDA has a property tax. So they pay county, school district, city, library fund,
Right.
all of those. They pay into the RDA.
So RDA is one of those funds also?
No, so it goes to the county, but because our RDA is structured, we get 75% of everything inside the RDA to use towards projects. So our total RDA budget's the entire
RDA area.
RDA area for us to.
Boundary, right.
And then we've created projects, like the 40,000 that we gave to
Mhm.
rehab buildings it was loosely based on the payback, but it wasn't a dollar amount where we said if your property tax is X, then you get.
Did I understand it right then in the agreement that if they don't pay their property
tax.
their county property tax, we don't need to pay the incentive?
Right.
Yeah.
And the amount under subsection B, it says the RDA is not obligated to pay the hotel in any one year more than the hotel's increment grant attributable to the immediately preceding tax year. So it's based on the increment that is collected in the immediate, so even if it's less.
Yeah, so does that answer
So it could
that
be less.
question? If their tax bill is less than the 175,
It could be less.
we would pay them. So we're not paying them any more than they're paying in for any given year.
So, I've never looked at their dollar amount. I've only gotten a certification back from the county that they're, paid in full when I remit the,
And we collect a lot more than.
Yeah.
In RDA.
Mhm.
oh, the RDA, yeah. So it's saying if the RDA fund is lower than we can afford to pay them, then we wouldn't pay them. But
We don't collect that much.
From them.
Personal property.
No, but I guess part of the concern is we're paying them more than they're paying in.
For sure.
County taxes say 100 and we're paying them 175.
And
It
we're-
seems like we wouldn't pay them any more than what their tax commitment is.
Potentially doing that. We don't know for sure, right?
Right.
It could be.
But that's the whole idea of the whole RDA. It's not dollar for dollar or property for property. And we're spending county and school district tax money into the RDA. It's not just city.
Aren't we saying, Gary, wasn't that your statement there that we're not paying them back any more than they're paying in?
Yeah, we need to reword it if that's the case. I thought it was just the RDA budget. Like if the RDA fund dries up, then we're not obligated. But so the value to the hotel's value to the entire RDA
Mhm.
is greater than what the value just to that one project is. So the restaurants and other businesses have residual benefit from having a hotel
Mhm.
there. That's why it's not tied dollar for dollar to the
County
property.
tax coming into a RDA going out. Okay,
Or for the project, right? It's not their property tax that we're giving back,
right.
but we're just making sure they're current on their property tax
Okay.
before we remit
Before we
anything.
commit,
So if
right.
they start to default on their taxes, then we don't pay them.
Maybe that's where, worthy of a review later, Gary, after you have time to look at it,
Yeah.
that
So-
concept.
I'm kind of flying blind. My computer died, so.
So is the concern that we would collect less from?
That we would pay, well, I don't know. I get, that's why I was questioning, how does the RDA work? Are we paying out, or are we paying more to them than they're paying in a?
Given
in
year
a-
for sure.
Yeah, in a given year.
Yeah, we're paying.
75, and suppose their county property tax commitment was only 100,000.
It would be less.
Yeah, it's less. We've handed them 75 extra $1,000. Is that what our program calls for?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the idea. So the first time when we recruited a hotel, we were way over what their property tax would have ever paid. But once it's paid off, the hotel exists
Yeah.
forever.
So the answer is yes,
Yeah,
it is more than they pay in
Okay.
taxes.
it should be.
So the only commitment on their part is to pay their complete tax. If they don't,
Then they're
so I
out.
mean that
It's like an early indicator. If you start defaulting on your property tax,
you would, I mean, if you knew that you were getting 175 by paying 100, why wouldn't you pay it? You're handed an extra 75.
right,
Yeah, so I mean, that's a pretty good incentive to pay your property tax for the
right.
next 5 years anyway.
Well, that could be a deal breaker too. I mean, if I'm looking to purchase this hotel and I find out that it's not gonna pay that 175 if we don't generate that, I might be out.
Yeah, that's,
The only thing that concerns me about this whole deal is, and I'll be honest with you, you can go back and look at minutes with this hotel. I was a little bit, when I first saw the business plan, I was a little suspicious right from the get-go.
Just the viability?
Well, the room rate, the occupancy. To me, when I did the math originally, it didn't really work out for me too well. So I've always been a little bit apprehensive, but I want to see that thing flourish and survive and do well. I don't want to see it become a dirt spot. I don't want it to become a weed patch. I don't want it to be a long-term rental facility. I want it to be a viable hotel for guests. And so for that reason, I guess I'm almost willing to do. I look at this and I think we really, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we have a choice. Unless, a couple of quick questions, did we have other players in the game?
Not on this, not on the negotiations.
And does Comfort Inn, do they have a business plan? I mean, what are they going to do that makes them think that they can make it successful? Do they?
So the franchise is part, that's like point system, so people find the hotel before they look for the place. Cobblestone wasn't very well known.
Right.
The
Yeah.
hotelier manages hotels and Cobblestone relied on a national hiring company to place the manager in place. It was not
To answer that concern, Tony, for a guy that travels a lot, I'll leave it nameless, but when I'm in the Uinta Basin, like I get incentives for staying in a certain hotel, I will drive 45 minutes longer to go stay in the hotel, passing up 10 on the way to get there.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Comfort Suites. I mean,
Name
there's incentive to do that. I mean, if
recognition as well, but points.
they got recognition, they got points, it's like,
So
I'll be honest, the last thing I would have ever done is stay in the Cobblestone because you get incentives for other,
Anywhere else.
what?
You can't find it anywhere else. you
Trust
go.
me, I've driven 45 minutes past 10 hotels to get to one to,
Well, I guess you could be staying at a Comfort 500 miles from here and say, okay, here's where I want to be.
Yep.
I might call
Yep.
ahead and reserve that, you're,
I get on my app and do it.
yeah, sure.
I don't even,
And I certainly, I hope it works. I
I,
hope it's viable. I hope it does well. But again, truthfully, I always was a little suspicious of the business plan right from the get-go, but I look at that hotel over there in January and February and March, and I go,
pretty quiet.
it's gotta be.
quiet everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
My comment to that, it wasn't marketed
yeah,
at all. I mean, you have ski resorts,
yeah.
So Ty,
it's right in the
And
middle.
Comfort may be in a better position to do
Yeah.
that, so. But I don't think we have a lot of
Maybe,
choice here.
just a follow-up question to help answer Tony's. If they don't pay their property tax, we don't pay the incentive. What other trigger is there besides that? I mean, there's on their part, we're going to make all these improvements. What triggers are there that would allow us to not make that RDA payment that if they didn't do what they were supposed to?
They shut their doors,
And that's all?
so they just continue to operate hotel just like the.
We don't have a level or a commitment of dollars that need to be spent and accounted for?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
There is a description of what they have to do, or what the thing has to look like.
Not
Even in the
specific, is it?
original-
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all tied to their franchise agreement.
Yeah, but nonetheless, that's,
We didn't have that
seems
with
a little
the
bit
other
loose.
hotel either. It was just the fact that it was here and existed and they kept their doors open. Other than if they're not paying their property tax, they don't get the,
Yeah, so I guess some of where we're at today is based on our original commitment.
Yep.
I can appreciate that. And maybe if that should have been tightened down a little bit more, that's water under the bridge.
Yeah, I would have, in the negotiations, that's why I didn't go over what we had already previously committed.
Mhm. Okay.
We would have had to have some closed sessions about that, and I
Okay.
think so.
Well, Teresa says my time's up, Mayor, so I'm through with questions.
Is there any more discussion? I think what I would really like to see is something in front of the hotel.
See what?
Business in front of the hotel.
We got a hotel there to have a business in front of.
Yeah.
I'd love to see both those lots, something in front of it, but.
So,
Well, are you ready for a motion on this or?
uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
You want to do it?
I can, but I didn't write down the changes, but I would make a motion that we approve or adopt resolution R 24-41. That's the resolution adopting and approving an economic development incentive agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency, Morgan City and Revaba, Morgan LLC, doing business as Comfort Inn and Suites, with the changes that have been noted.
Did you get all those, Denise?
Mayor, I'll second that motion.
I'll need a motion on the land purchase agreement.
Vote on this and then
Hold on this one first.
Yep.
me too.
I'll second that, Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept this resolution and a second. Jeffrey?
Oh, he's calling
Tony,
roll call.
Oh, aye.
Jeff? Tony?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Denise? Now let's go up to the first item under the active agenda, and who can come up with a motion and
What's the first one?
It's a land purchase.
I'll make
agreement.
that motion,
Oh.
Mayor,
Kinda got ahead of
to
myself.
approve resolution R 2440, a resolution adopting and approving a land purchase agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and REVABA Morgan LLC, Comfort Inn and Suites for the purchase of property located near the intersection of 125 North, 425 East, and 215 Commercial Street, Morgan, Utah. Authorizing Bailey, Director, to negotiate for the completion of the transaction.
Second.
okay, we have the motion and a second. Eric?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Jeffrey?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, let's adjourn this
Do we need
meeting.
to, hold on. Do we need the resolution too? Is this one, the economic development one?
That's what I did.
That one's done with the changes.
We got it.
I guess so. Sorry.
41.
You're good.
I'm way ahead of myself.
Okay, well, let's adjourn this meeting and move into the work meeting. You know, Dave, I'm amazed at your mind. I went through that as
Careful as you could.